Okay, so today we're gonna dive into the world of ceremonial magic.
Not the fun kind either. We're talking like the real deal stuff.
Right.
And to help us understand it, we're going to be looking at the Book of Ceremonial Magic by Arthur Edward Waite.
And what makes this deep dive so interesting is that, Waite wasn't really interested in writing a spell book.
Right.
He wasn't trying to teach anyone how to conjure a spirit or brew a potion or anything like that.
Okay.
He really wanted to understand the history of these practices and the beliefs that fueled this centuries-long fascination with magic.
This is more of a historical deep dive than a how-to guide.
Exactly.
But speaking of history, he keeps mentioning all these grimoires. Aren't they as old as they sound? Like the Key of Solomon or the Grimorium Verum?
Those always
They
sound.
sound seriously old.
Yeah, they really do sound like something you'd find in a hidden library or something.
Right.
But actually, Waite was a very meticulous researcher, and he found that a lot of these texts weren't nearly as old as they claimed to be.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them actually dated back to the Middle Ages.
So they were trying to boost their credibility or something.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine you're living in a world where the line between reality and the supernatural isn't as clear.
Right.
And you want your book of spells to be taken seriously.
Right.
Wouldn't you maybe try to trace it back to King Solomon or some lost civilization?
I mean, yeah, it's like you're not just some random guy, right?
Exactly. It gives your book a sense of authority.
Like this wisdom, this power, it comes from somewhere real, you know?
Exactly.
So, okay, we've got these grimoires. Some of them are fudging their age a bit, but what's actually in them?
Well, one of the things that Waite spends a lot of time talking about is the whole idea of white magic versus black magic.
Okay.
And how that distinction is actually kind of fuzzy.
Fuzzy. Okay.
Yeah, he says it's not so much about the specific ritual, but the intention behind it.
So, a love spell could be white magic if you're trying to help someone find true love, but it could be black magic if you're trying to, manipulate someone.
Exactly. It's all about the motivation.
Intention.
Yeah. Are you trying to help someone, or are you trying to control them? Are you trying to heal, or are you trying to harm?
That makes a lot of sense.
Waite believed that the real danger of magic was seeking power for selfish reasons.
It corrupts you.
Exactly.
So let's say our listener somehow stumbles across one of these grimoires. What are they going to find inside? It's not all just waving wands and chanting, is it?
Oh, no, it's way more complicated than that.
Okay.
A lot of these rituals were based on astrology and this belief that, the movements of the planets could influence events on Earth.
Okay. I'm with you.
They called them planetary hours.
Planetary hours.
Yeah.
Like happy hour for magic.
Not quite. It's more like they believed that each hour of the day was ruled by a different planet.
Yeah.
And that each planet had its own kind of energy.
So if you wanted to do some magic, you had to wait for the right planet to be in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Talk about timing being everything.
Right. And they would have these detailed tables and charts to figure out, okay, if I want to do this kind of magic, I need to do it during the hour of Mars or whatever.
So it's like they were trying to hack the universe or something.
Kind of, yeah. They were trying to figure out the right code to make things happen.
That's wild. But even with the right timing, I'm guessing you needed the right equipment too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't just your average wands and cauldrons either.
Oh.
These were very specific tools, each with its own purpose.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, there's the magic rod, for instance, which was often made from a specific type of wood.
Okay.
And it had to be cut at a particular time of year and sometimes even stained with blood.
Blood. Okay,
Yeah.
That's a little intense.
Yeah, and before you ask, no, we won't be providing DIY instructions.
Good, because I think I'll stick to my trusty screwdriver for now.
Probably a good call.
But blood. Were they just trying to be hardcore, or was there a deeper meaning behind it?
Well, it's easy to judge by today's standards, but Waite suggests that it wasn't about cruelty.
Okay.
It was more about, I guess you could say self-sufficiency.
Sufficiency.
Yeah, by crafting their own tools, often using materials they'd gathered and prepared themselves. They were trying to, control every aspect of the process.
So it's like a magical DIY project.
Yeah, kind of.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got the timing down, the tools are prepped. What exactly were they trying to accomplish with all this magic?
I mean, was it all just summoning demons and making deals with the devil?
Not exactly.
Not exactly. So what, after all that, they weren't trying to, rule the world or anything?
Oh, you might be surprised to learn that a lot of these spells were aimed at, pretty mundane stuff, really.
No, mundane. Like what?
Oh, finding love, attracting wealth, maybe becoming invisible.
Okay. I mean, I guess I get it.
Things that people still want today.
That's
So,
true. But why go through all that trouble, all those rituals and stuff, when you could just, I don't know, ask someone out or look for a new job?
well, think about it. A lot of these grimoires, they probably appeal to people who felt powerless, you know?
Okay.
Like imagine living in a time when you don't have a lot of control over your own life.
Right.
Your job, your social standing, it's all kind of predetermined.
Okay. Yeah.
Magic.
Yeah.
Maybe it gave them a sense of control, like they could influence their destiny a little bit.
So it's like, okay, the world's a mess, but maybe with a little magic, I can at least try to get what I want.
Exactly. And don't forget, these grimoires were full of like really out there stuff.
Out there, how?
Spells for hatching a gold-finding hen or conjuring visions in the air, things like
A
that.
gold finding what?
A hen, a chicken.
Now that's a get-rich-quick scheme I can get behind.
Right.
But it's interesting, though, even with magic involved, people were still focused on these pretty basic desires.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. But, okay, there's one more thing I'm kind of hung up on.
What's that?
All this talk about Christianity and Kabbalah mixed in with the demon summoning, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
It seems like a weird combo,
It's called syncretism.
He's in what now?
Syncretism, it's basically when different religious or magical traditions kind of blend together.
Okay, so like a religious mashup?
Kind of, yeah. And in this case, they were mixing elements of Christianity with its focus on prayer and divine power
Okay.
with Kabbalistic ideas about like the nature of God and the hidden meaning of Scripture.
So it wasn't just about good versus evil, angels versus demons.
Not really, no. It was
Yeah.
way more nuanced than that.
Okay.
They might be summoning spirits, but they're also invoking the names of God, reciting psalms.
Wow, that's a lot to process.
It really is. And it makes you wonder about the people drawn to these practices.
What do you mean?
Like, what were their internal struggles? What were they hoping to achieve by combining all these different beliefs?
It's like they were trying to find some kind of balance or something.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they were trying to access power from every possible source.
It's fascinating stuff.
It really is. And it's something that still resonates with us today. This idea of trying to reconcile different aspects of ourselves, the light and the dark.
It's like we're all searching for answers, right? Trying to make sense of this crazy world.
Exactly. But speaking of searching, let's get back to these rituals for a second.
Okay.
They were incredibly elaborate, almost theatrical in a way.
Theatrical. Okay.
Yeah, with all the tools and the timing and the incantations.
So do you think that they actually believed they were summoning literal entities? Or was it something else?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it?
Right. Like, were these
Yeah.
just stories they told themselves, or did they really believe it?
It's hard to say for sure, but even if we say, okay, maybe there aren't actually demons and spirits running around, these rituals still have a powerful effect on the people performing them.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. You're standing in this magic circle, surrounded by these tools you've created, chanting these words.
Okay.
It's a way of stepping outside of your everyday life.
It's like entering a different world almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in that world, maybe,
Mhm.
just maybe, you can access a different kind of power.
A power that comes from within, maybe?
Maybe. Or maybe it's about tapping into something larger than yourself.
And all the secrecy, all the talk of hidden knowledge, that probably added to the effect.
Oh, absolutely. When you believe you're privy to some forbidden knowledge,
Right.
it makes it feel even more powerful, more real.
Like you're part of something special.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, whether they were summoning real demons or just confronting their own inner demons.
It seems like these rituals were a way for people to deal with some pretty heavy stuff.
Oh, for sure. We're talking about big questions here. Questions of life and death, good and evil, fate and free will.
Things that we still think about today.
Exactly. And that's what makes these grimoires so fascinating.
So it's not really about the magic itself. It's about what the magic represents.
Exactly. It's about the human need to find meaning in the world, to understand our place in the grand scheme of things.
To feel like we have some control over our own lives.
Yes. And that's something we can all relate to, right?
Absolutely. Well, this has been an amazing journey.
We've learned so much about ceremonial magic, the history, the rituals, the beliefs.
It's been a wild ride.
It really has. So as we wrap things up here, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
That's a great question. I think the most important thing to remember is that even though these practices might seem strange to us now,
Right?
they were driven by very real human needs and desires.
The need to understand, to connect, to find our place in the world.
Exactly. And those are needs that we all share, no matter who we are or where we come from.
So in a way, these ancient magicians weren't so different from us after all.
Not at all. And maybe, just maybe, there's something we can learn from their example.
Maybe we can all benefit from a little bit of that wonder and curiosity, that desire to explore the unknown.
I think so. And who knows, maybe this deep dive will inspire some of our listeners to do a little exploring of their own.
To look for the magic in their own lives.
Exactly. Because it's out there. You just have to know where to look.
I love that. Well, on that note, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of ceremonial magic. Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep exploring those hidden corners of knowledge.